Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, Bekiim Bahalacha 3, day 57, page 112, Siman 8, Siman Chet is Ilchot Tzitzit still, just for people that don't realize yet, right? And Halacha Mem Daled, okay? So Mem Daled says like this, Ayu lefanav kama begadim shel kanfot. So imagine you got a few different clothings of 4 corners. Now, when you went and you made the Beracha, you didn't have a mind to put another one, right? Veshuv nimlach. What is nimlach? We just learned it yesterday. Yeah, very good. You changed your mind. And now you want to put another one. Afilu lo ifsik kelal achar levishat habeged harishon tzarich, right? Lachzor ulvarech al habeged hasheni. You have to make a new bracha. Why? It's Hesech Hadat. Yeah, Hesech Hadat. Sfaradim. Shulchan Aruch. Tzid Bet. Okay, fine. You're right. But remember that according to Shulchan Aruch, you would make a bracha even on Talit Katan. Yeah, 100%. That's what we do lemaaseh. That's what we do lemaaseh. But at lemaskana, let's say you're going to change the Talit Katan, and you're going to, right, or to add in this case. So here you have a problem. So he says, there's a pasek. What's that say? You would do another bracha. Why is nimlach? Huh? Same one. They did a bit tzitzit.
No, because you don't.
Okay, on mitzvah tzitzit. Fine. So there was a machloket in that, if you remember. We said that it's going to be on mitzvah tzitzit or litev tzitzit. I'll give you an example, right? Let's say, for example, right, when we're talking about in this halacha, I'm going to apply it now to birkat hane'anim. Yeah, birkat hane'anim. You know what it means? Berachot on food. So I come and I'm going to have my tea, right? So I come and I say, okay, fine, that's it. All of a sudden I say, you know what? I'm not going to have any more. Why? Sasufi. Too much tea is not good. The truth is, okay, I would say that in coffee, but it doesn't matter. But it wasn't good for whatever reason. But tea is always good. But let's say coffee, it's not too much caffeine. It's not good. So, okay, fine. After 5 minutes, I say, you know what? I need it. That's called nimlach. The second you're nimlach, you have to make another beracha. Right? That's called nimlach. Now, usually, there's no nimlach because you have in mind that whatever I'm going to drink the entire day here, it's covered. Right? Unless, obviously, I'm going to leave or things like that. So then it's a... But here, it's nimlach. Nimlach, and this we spoke about nimlach and everything. Bread. What? זה לא נמלח. זה משהו אחר. זה שינוי מקום. זה בכלל לא... מה? So he comes here and he says, it's a pasek. Why? You didn't want to put on this other tzitzit, and therefore now you would decide you have to make a beracha. Okay, that is going to be number 45 on the footnote. Right? 45, it says that there's a ruling in the Shulchan Aruch. If someone had no particular intentions, because here we said you only had kavanah to put on one clothing, and then all of a sudden you were going to put on 2. Remember, they're both tzitziyot. Yeah. So the question is, what happens if it was kavanah stamit? Stama. You asked him, did you have kavanah to put both on? I don't know. I didn't think about it. I made a beracha. I put on tzitzit. That's it. I didn't think about whether 1, 2. I didn't think. So he says, according to the Mishnah Berurah, if someone normally wears only one 4-cornered garment, and he said the beracha with no particular intentions, we assume that he only intended to wear one. And if he decides to do another one, he would have to make a new beracha. Okay, one blessing counts for both garments. Only if the person consistently intended to wear both before. Meaning the kavanah stamit, exactly, the kavanah stamit is you only want the one, but that's what you usually do. If you usually do 2, so then that's you. But if you usually do 1, and I'm going to ask you, what are you doing now? It means 1. You don't have to say it. That's a stammy. If you want to do 2, you have to have the kavanah to do 2. Okay? Someone who normally wears only one 4-cornered garment, he says, however, ruled that if someone has several 4-cornered garments laid out in front of him, and he decides and he recites the beracha with no particular intentions, he must not repeat if he decides afterwards to put on more than one. This ruling is based upon if the garments were not laid out before him, however, he definitely would need to say the beracha. So he wants to say, is it lefanav or not lefanav? And by the way, the same halacha applies to berachot also, right? That there's such a concept, meaning that if something's in front of you, you probably already had that in mind because it's there, it's on the table, it's right there. If it's going to be somewhere else, you have to go get it. It's something different, okay? It is best to such a case to engage in some other activity, right? Until the idea of putting on other garments is forgotten. That's the sechadat. And then you go back to them and you repeat the beracha, and then there's not going to be a problem.
It has to be in front of his eye.
Yes.
If you put it in one room and then you go to the laundry room to get the second one,
no, then no.
Then
you have to make a beracha.
Okay.
Someone who normally wears, right? If it was somewhere else, Yeah, so he has to make another beracha. Doesn't matter. Someone who normally wears several four-corner garments. What happens to the opposite? That means you put a few of them, right? That's what the norm. So he says, if this person, right, said the beracha with no particular intentions, and he put on one garment, and now wishes to put on more, he for sure does not say the beracha, right? Because it is as if his specified intention is to cover all the garments. And Mishabra would also agree to this, even though why? Because he usually puts on more. If this person had 3 4-corner garments to put on, and he put them on, all right, he put them all on, someone brought him an additional one, so he does not need to make another one. Actually, the Achronim debated this halacha. But the Hechal ruled that since they say that you don't have to do another one, as in the previous case, he recommended just do something else, have a sechadat, and then make a beracha. Okay? Fine. If someone put on a talit without examining the tzitzits, and afterwards he discovered that they were damaged and invalidated, he must say a beracha on the second talit. Why? Because the beracha on the first talit, he had no intention of putting on the second talit. Okay, so he doesn't do anything.
If he does a bracha on a talit,
yeah,
then
you put on a talit, you didn't realize anything. Also, look, pasul.
So put it away.
So you put it away. You have to take another talit. You have to make a beracha, obviously. Why? Because you never had an intention when you made the first beracha to put on a second talit. So therefore, you have to make a new beracha.
Same question is a Kohen. Let's say I finish this.
If someone said the beracha to put on a talit, but before he had a chance to put it on, someone else came over and took it away from him, giving him a different talit to put on. Right, this happens a lot of times here in the Beit Knesset. You know, they come, they want to take one talit, and it really belongs, right? It belongs to the Beit Knesset. So somebody comes, he wants to take another one. Yeah.
Smell. Can he take another talit?
So that's what he says here. He says he must say a beracha on the second talit. When he said the first one, he had no intention for the beracha on the second one. So again, he would have to make a beracha. Yeah, he would have to make a beracha. Fine. 46. Yeah, walking to. I answered it already. Walking to a shul is an interruption. Yeah, he says the poskim debated with the halacha for someone who comes makes the beracha over talit katan at home and had intentions to make the beracha right over the talit gadol when he's going to put it on the shul. Some rule that the walk between his home and the Beit Knesset constitutes too great of an interruption, and therefore he says another beracha on the talit gadol. Others rule that the first blessing can still cover the talit gadol inside the interruption. In practice, we follow the beracha of Saveh Beracha. He must not repeat the beracha unless he engages in other activities until he forgets about putting on the talit gadol. After that, he may recite the blessing a second time. It is best to avoid this situation and specifically intend for the blessing to recite at home, not cover the talit gadol. Then there's no question that when he arrives at the synagogue, he may say a second beracha on the talit gadol. It is permissible to create a situation requiring an extra beracha in order to avoid halachic debates with doubts, right? Which means basically that whenever a person has a doubt, we have a concept beracha she'enet tzricha. Beracha she'enet tzricha. We always know the beracha she'enet tzricha, right, is the entire concept that it's a beracha that you do not need. However, though, if the reason why you're making the beracha is in order not to get into a machloket, not to get halachic doubts, then for sure you're allowed to do it. Okay, so that's what we're saying. So here you're allowed to do it. 1 minute. Thank you. The Shulchan Aruch states, okay, number 46. If someone recites a beracha on the talit katan, and then he goes to the Beit Knesset planning to put on the talit gadol, yeah? So therefore, he already knows about it, and he's intending this. So therefore, he must recite the beracha again for the talit gadol. Why? The walk from his home to the synagogue is too much of an interruption for the first blessing to still count. If he prays at home and he did not speak or engage in other activities, then obviously he doesn't have to make a beracha. This means that although this person specifically intended for the first blessing to cover the second one, he immediately set out for the Beit Knesset with this in mind. He still has to say the beracha. The act of walking is considered an interruption. The Acharonim, right? This is the Magen Avraham and others listed in Mishabra. They disagree with this ruling. They claim that the act of walking from one building to another is not considered an interruption. They nevertheless rule that this person must repeat the beracha in the synagogue because a blessing is effective only in the location where it was recited. Once somebody comes and he changes his location, his first blessing cannot count in another location. And even if he returns to the first location, it can no longer count. So the Mishabra comes and he quotes the Chayadam explaining that according to some poskim, changing one location is not considered an interruption. Therefore, he concluded the person must not say a beracha on the talit gadol unless it's a long distance. Sephardic Jews follow the principle of Saveh Beracha even when it runs counter to the rulings of Maran. If so, we must likewise refrain from making a second beracha in the situation depicted above. The Kavachim Sofer, he comes and he's recommended that people specifically have the intentions when they're making the Beracha at home not to count the Talit Gadol. Then it will be perfectly all right to make a second Beracha. It is permissible to create a situation that necessitates reciting a Beracha that could possibly have been avoided if it's, again, in order to circumvent a situation with a poskim debate. So therefore, there's no problem whatsoever. Okay?
So that teaches something, Rabbi.